Hey, my name's Sam. This is actually my second attempt to record this video because the connection mysteriously started going out. So hopefully this time it works. So I was living in Chicago with my boyfriend at the time, and it was summer and he was out of college, so we decided to move back to Joliet, move in with my mom, pay her a little bit every month. She was actually moving out at the time, and she said that she had found this like really great place for a really good price, super cheap. Heat was included, and she said that it was a little bit messy now, but that the landlord was going to come in and clean it. Well, we went in a couple days before we were supposed to move in, and the place was still not clean. I mean, it was a shit show. Like, it was gross, it was dirty. Tons of garbage had been left behind, and so we were like, we're gonna have to come in and clean this place up and whatever. Not a thought. Not a thought. So on the very first day that we moved in, I was trying to convince my mom that we should move into this place. I had a bad feeling about it. I didn't like it. It seemed wrong, and it seemed like this was not the place for us. We moved in anyways. Now, we had a basement that was really, really creepy. It was completely unfinished. Has anyone seen the Amityville Horror? Because if you have, you know the scene where they're in the basement and there's an unfinished room behind concrete that they had to sledgehammer down, and it's a red room and the well to hell is behind there. We had a room like that. It wasn't red inside, but it looked like somebody had taken a sledgehammer and completely like busted down the wall into like this other unfinished area of the basement. My job for moving in at that point was just taking boxes down into the basement that were going into our storage. And as I walked down, you can come through. As I walked down, I saw out of the corner of my eye a figure standing in the other room. It was very clear to me it was a male, Latino, late teens, in a basketball uniform. I don't know who it could have been, but when I looked over to get a better visual, he was gone. Not before I realized that he didn't have any legs. From the knee down, there was nothing there. He wasn't even standing. He was just floating in that room. Needless to say, I was really freaked out, but I didn't say anything to my family because I didn't want to, upset them because they really needed a cheap place to stay. My family doesn't make a lot of money. This place had a lot of bedrooms, and it seemed to be perfect to my mom. I didn't want to freak her out. So I kept it to myself, and the very same day, my little sister told me that she felt very uncomfortable. And I asked her why, and she said, well, when I go up and down the stairs, it's like somebody's walking right behind me and staring at me. Which is interesting because I felt the same way about the stairs going up to the second floor, that somebody was walking right behind you. And you couldn't hear anything, but you just kind of like got that vibe that somebody was right here. Let's see. I remember being alone in the house once, and I was taking a shower. My mom and her boyfriend were both at work. The kids were in school. I was getting, a shower taken so I could go to work. And I heard footsteps on the stairs. And I thought, did my mom's boyfriend come home early or something? Like, tell me that's not what I think it is. And so it went on for a while, and I finally got out of the shower, and I peeked into the hallway, and I called for my mom's boyfriend, but there was no response. He wasn't there. The very same time, my ex-boyfriend was getting very, very into the Ouija board, and the Ouija board is something that I will never want to be in the same room with. It's something that nobody should mess with. It's not a child's game. I don't know why they market it that way, but it's like a legit occult item. It's not okay. My boyfriend at the time got really, really into it and started playing alone, which is another no-no. You never, ever use a Ouija board alone. If you must use a Ouija board, never. Because you're more susceptible to persuasion from what is ever on the other side of the board. You're also susceptible to possession. So he got really into it, and he started doing it alone all the time, and it was like it became an extension of him. He was just all over it all the time. And then things started getting a lot crazier. There was one night in particular where we heard this loud banging on the walls. And I ran outside, I remember, checking to see if maybe like somebody was outside of our house, like banging and like causing a ruckus and messing with us. There was nobody there. You couldn't even hear the banging outside. But as soon as I stepped back into the house, the banging started all over again, and it wasn't even in just one room. It was everywhere. It was in every room of the house, the second floor, the first floor. I wasn't going into the basement, so I don't know if it was in the basement, but it was everywhere, and it was just like loud, just like somebody was taking their fist and just beating on the walls. And I remember like going to my mom and being like, "What is that? What is that sound?" And she was like, "I don't know, maybe there's an animal in the walls." I'm gonna debunk that. There is no way that an animal would be in every single room of the house banging and scratching on the walls. No fucking way. Excuse my language. So I remember going to bed that night, and it just would not stop. And so it got to a point where I just sat up and I started screaming, "Stop it, stop it, stop it, I fucking hear you, cut it the fuck out, I know you're there, stop it." And just like that, it stopped. There was no more banging. So something obviously intelligent was there, enough to understand that I was paying attention to it now. I was on the first floor with my little brother, and we were talking in front of his bedroom door, which was shut. And I don't know at what time period this was, before the banging or after. But we started hearing a rattling. And we looked down, and his bedroom doorknob was shaking and rattling just violently, like crazy. And I looked at him and I was like, "Dude, did you leave your music on?" And he said, "No, no." And true enough, like we didn't even hear music, but I was like, that could be the only possible explanation for why this doorknob is rattling. So of course I did the stupid white people thing, and I grabbed the doorknob and I slowly opened it, and nothing was there. In true movie-esque quality fashion, stupid white person opens the door, nothing there. So I guess that happened a couple more times with other people in the house. And finally we decided, me and my boyfriend, to enlist the help of the local psychic. You know, we went to her and we were asking questions like, "What could this be? We don't know." And she told us to burn sage, frankincense, and charcoal, and to read from the Bible for 3 nights to represent the Holy Trinity. So we did. And it took a turn for the worse. The air grew heavy, more and more and more. The air was just so tense, and it felt like we had just pissed something off. I mean, we felt tense going anywhere in the house because we felt like we were always being watched. Like there was always an eye on us. I wanted no part of it. You look cute today. So meanwhile, my boyfriend was still fucking around with the Ouija board. And I remember going to sleep one night and suddenly I couldn't move. It was as if I was paralyzed. I mean, like something was pressing down on me, and like I couldn't move but to like look over at my boyfriend, and he was staring at me in the weirdest way. I can't even explain to you the amount of hatred I saw in his face. Just evil, 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 evil. The whites of his eyes were gone. He looked like he had shark eyes, just black, 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 black eyes. And I was assaulted. It's not something I want to talk about, but it ended with snarling and snapping and him scratching at my walls. And I remember screaming for my mother because suddenly I found my voice. And she came into the room, and I was telling her that like something was wrong with my boyfriend. And she saw him snapping and snarling, but she said, "Oh, he's having a bad dream. He's having a bad dream. Just, calm him down and go back to sleep." And she went back to bed. I've never felt more alone. I didn't know what to do. It had gone from banging on the walls and feelings of being watched to an actual attack. I asked my boyfriend about it the next day, and he said that he didn't know. He had a hard time remembering what happened. It was all like very fuzzy and very vague, and he didn't want to talk about it. So I decided we have to get out of this house. We have to get out. So we decided to move to Chicago. And we thought it would be okay. My little sister owned a hamster. And we brought it with us to Chicago to take care of it. Because my mom didn't want it in the house, blah, blah, blah. So I was taking care of this hamster for a good month. One day I looked in, and there were bugs everywhere. And his entire cage was wet. And I took him out and screamed, "Oh my God." And he was just like, he was drenched, and I gave him to my boyfriend, and I said, hold him. I'm gonna clean his cage. I don't know what the hell's going on here. So I went and I cleaned his cage, and I came back, and I was like, is Hammy okay? And I grabbed him, and I noticed that there was something wrong with his ears. They were torn, and they were bleeding, and grizzled off. And I was like, what? And I looked at my boyfriend and I was like, do you think he was scratching himself? I don't know. What the hell could have happened? And he was like, I have no idea. So I cleaned out his cage and I put him back in, just hoping that he would make it through the night and that he would be okay. Should also note that when I was cleaning out the cage, it smelled like urine. Hardcore, straight up just urine. And I figured, he's having, I don't know, I have no idea. The next day I went to work, and I was down in the basement, and my boss called down, "Hey, your boyfriend's here. He wants to talk to you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, send him down." I was framing posters. And he came down and he said, Sam, Hammy's dead, and I did it. I said, what do you mean you did it? And he said, I killed him. I did it. So I said, okay, get rid of it. Get rid of it, and we'll deal with it when I get home. We'll deal with it then. I can't do this right now. I'm at work. You need to leave. When I got home, there were chunks of fur in the garbage. The cage was wet again. My boyfriend told me that he had been urinating on the cage, that he had taken a pair of nail clippers and clipped off the hamster's ears, that he was squeezing it so that it squeaked. I asked him, I said, when I gave him to you while I cleaned the cage, were you hurting him then? And he said, yeah, I was. And I finished him off this morning. Whatever was in that house followed us. And I left. I left him. Met a girl, moved in with her. I haven't been bothered since. I don't know if he has. I don't really talk to him. I don't really want to. But it was either me. It was going to be me next. I mean, it was me, and then it was the hamster, and he killed the hamster. What was going to happen to me? I've been trying to contact the old landlord of the apartment. It's been a few years since this happened. This happened in 2009. I've been trying to contact her, but I haven't had much luck. I don't know if she thinks that maybe I'm mad at her for not explaining that maybe somebody had died in the house or that somebody else had activity there. I just want answers. I just need to know what happened. Because this was a big part of my life. I mean, this happened to me when I was 19, and I'm still thinking about it. So if anybody knows a Marge Frangini, coax her into answering my Facebook message, because I have to have answers. I have to know. So, thank you so much for listening. I hope this was mildly entertaining. Should be on Paranormal Witness or something. Anywho, have a great day.